Hello, everyone. This is the Hello and Welcome podcast, and this episode is a presentation of ToonieBet, online sportsbook and casino. Will Lou is off this week, hanging out with family in San Francisco, so had to bring on some of my friends. Joined by Joe Wolfond today, formerly of the Scores, Pound the Rock. He's now freelancing worldwide and writing at Raptors in 7. Make sure you check that out on Substack with Vivek Jacob as well. What's going on, Wolfond?
Not too much, man. Pleasure to be here, as always. Good. I mean, usually I feel like when I come on, it's your day off, so nice to be here with you instead of Will.
I have a lot of days off, apparently. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes
you've got to figure it out, man. I say that all the time. You figured it out, so...
Yeah, I figured out how to scam my bosses, you know what I'm saying? Did you enjoy All-Star Weekend, Wolfond?
What little of it I saw was fine. I didn't watch it.
You didn't tap in?
I watched a little bit of that, whatever you want to call it, like mini tournament, I guess, on Sunday.
Yeah.
I didn't see any of All-Star Saturday. It's usually like the opposite for me, actually. Usually I like watching All-Star Saturday and like never even tune in at all for the All-Star game itself. I was actually like a little bit intrigued and curious about this new format. I just had like some family stuff going on Saturday, so it wasn't like I actively chose to avoid All-Star Saturday, but I'm just like generally not like so into the weekend and the pageantry. Like it just doesn't do it for me from an entertainment perspective. But I actually thought, the All-Star game format, whatever you want to call it, was to me like way more entertaining than any bits and pieces of an actual All-Star game that I've tuned into over the past, I don't know, ever, basically. Like, I thought, as much as like I'm personally just in favor of like sticking with East-West. I think there are like tweaks that you could make to make that type of a game more entertaining. And this format, in terms of just like who was on what team and what was really at stake, was like a little bit confusing to me. I thought like the idea of just playing like these 12-minute games made it way more exciting than having to sit through like a 48-minute game where nobody actually cares or is trying. So, like I've said a couple times, I just think what would interest me most would be doing East-West, but just having like a target score, like a pretty low target score, so that there wasn't this like extended game of like, layup lines and like chucked threes or whatever, where there's like literally no entertainment value in that whatsoever. I think that like if there is that target score and it's like getting close to that, like you can feel the intensity ramp up. And so if you set like a target score of like 90 or 100 even, I think you could actually have like a good competitive game between East and West. And then everyone would understand like who's on what team, and like this team is playing for Eastern Conference supremacy and this team is playing for Western Conference supremacy. And the fans of teams in either conference can have like a rooting interest for that reason, as opposed to just like this sort of random and hastily assembled group of players that you don't understand really where your own allegiances lie. But
yeah, I mean, it's never going to be perfect, but I thought Sunday was well done. But you're right, though. It's like, it was great watching like Kawhi Leonard, going for that 31 in those 12 minutes. But in like 5 years, it's going to be really hard to be like, oh, yeah, right, he did that for like Team USA Stripes or whatever, Like, remember when Kawhi went off for Stripes? Like, I feel like that's something no one's going to say in 5 years.
Yeah. Could say Kawhi destroyed the world. I mean, that's like a theme of 2025, 26.
I mean, there's plenty of people doing that these days. So I don't think they need Kawhi's help doing that. I see Will Lou in the chat. Yo, Will, tweet out the link and everything, man. Get people in here.
Yeah.
So we're heading towards the back half, more than the back half of the regular season. And once in a while, I one of the things I really enjoy doing is doing tiers. So today I've tiered all 30 teams into 8 different tiers, and these are not power rankings, okay? This is a vibe check ranking So they're not based on, the overall records of the teams or, how well they might do or, whether they're championship contenders or not. It's really based on the overall vibe of the team. So I'm going to run through these tiers with you and we talk about some of the teams. You can also agree and disagree with me on these. Are you ready for this exercise, Wolf?
Fired up, man.
All right, let's go. Tier 1, which I call the overachievers. So these are teams that, to me, I guess, are playing with house money. I feel like they've all already exceeded expectations, and there's really nothing that can happen for the rest of the season that can really curtail that to me. So tier 1, I've got the Charlotte Hornets, the Detroit Pistons, San Antonio Spurs, Boston Celtics, and I put the Toronto Raptors and Phoenix Suns in here as well. Based on my premise, do you agree that these teams have overachieved and have done well for themselves this season?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, that you really sort of laid out the heart of the exercise right there, right? Like, I think as a general rule, if you want to concoct a formula for vibes, it's not an exact science, but generally I think it's like something like wins divided by expected wins, like the lower the expectations are, I think the easier it is to create good vibes because you can kind of only overachieve. And the higher expectations are, I think the more pressure is going to be on the team, the more tension is going to be in a locker room. And I think a sort of perfect juxtaposition that can speak to that example is if you look at, was it 2022 when when Scottie was a rookie and the Raptors kind of overachieved, won 48 games, seemed like everything was hunky-dory. And then the next season there were all these expectations they were going to take the next step, and they were a 500 team, which on its face is there are a lot of teams in the league for whom being 500 would be considered a success. But for that team, it was a disaster and everything fell apart. So I think the teams where, they're not expected to do much and it's the innocent climb, those are the teams that are going to be most likely to have good and harmonious vibes because everybody feels like they are playing with house money, to your point. So I think, Detroit in particular, the vibes seem to be at an all-time high there. This team won 14 games 2 seasons ago, and now they're on pace to win 60+. That's just unbelievable.
Yeah, and everyone wants to see Detroit versus Charlotte now, man. That's the new Malice in the Palace series.
Yeah, true.
That's
the one thing,
rivalry.
I don't know. I guess the vibes seem good in Charlotte. Maybe it's just as a viewer, it's hard to get there because I just don't want to have Miles Bridges on my screen ever.
No, that's fair. Yeah, they need to introduce a league pass where you can delete bad guys. Yeah, it's somehow you turn on the Bucks and you don't see Kevin Porter Jr. Yeah,
I feel like there was a Black Mirror episode about that or something.
But Charlotte's got a squad now, right? It seems like they do kind of a young nucleus there. And listen, they've won. They've won 9 of their last 10. They've been on a crazy run. But all that just to, of course, get into the play-in picture. But to me, I feel like this is already way better than whatever expectations people have had of them. And it seems like they could actually look at themselves and say they have a future. With Detroit and San Antonio, I was going to ask you. San Antonio seems ahead of the schedule, of course, with Wemby and the rest of that team. If you were to pick the one team, between Detroit and San Antonio, which one do you think is more likely to come out of their conference and actually surprise and make the finals? Okay. Make the case for me for the Pistons.
That's just entirely based on which conference those teams respectively play in. Much easier path for Detroit to come out of the East than for San Antonio to come out of the West. If you just sort of stack them up, if those two teams were to play in a series, I don't know if that would necessarily be my answer, but Pistons are really damn good, man. I think it's interesting, actually, because I have maybe some similar questions about both of those teams in terms of, what it's going to look like in the playoffs with some of the lack of shooting, I guess, and the way that might be game planned for and schemed for in the playoffs versus the regular season. And I guess looking at the Spurs, I probably have a little bit more faith in their ability to overcome that with just the raw talent that Wemby brings. Obviously, Cade's been unbelievable, but if you're looking okay, is there one player who can kind of break a defensive scheme and overcome some like tight spacing confines to break apart an opposing team's game plan regardless. I think I have more faith in Wemby being able to do that than in Cade being able to do it right now. But I don't know, man. Detroit's been just like very, very impressive. Their defense is absolutely the real deal. They're tough as nails. So they are built for playoff basketball in certain ways. But I also wonder, like,
and they'll fight you. Yeah.
They will fight you. Which, I mean, can cut both ways, I suppose, because right now their two centers are like out of the lineup for a number of games. Isaiah Stewart's out for 7 games, so if that were to happen in a playoff series, that might ultimately be to their detriment.
Yeah, not if they play Toronto, so don't worry.
Yeah, true. Then Paul Reed just turns into prime Wilt Chamberlain.
I just want to say Paul Reed was literally selling his own T-shirts on Twitter while he was playing for the Sixers in the playoffs a few years ago. So he's come a long way.
Yeah. I did want to ask, though, because we're talking about vibes, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like Wemby, like, is that a guy who playing with him would be conducive to good vibes, just given some of his, like, self-seriousness, I guess? Like, does that seem like somebody who would be fun to share a locker room with?
Yeah. No, I feel like I would say yes. I feel like he's a great teammate. Like, he's obviously super competitive. You could even see in the All-Star game, like, he was getting upset when, like, the defense broke down, like, late in the games there and stuff. But no, I think Wemby plays a style that, is like, he plays team ball. It's not like some kind of heliocentric. I know you love that word. Some kind of heliocentric offense around like a Luka or a James Harden. Like, those are the teams where I'm like, oh, they might become miserable after a while. And I feel like we did see that with like some of the Harden teams. So no, I feel like Wemby is a vibe raiser for me for sure. I put Toronto in here too because I think last time I did one of these tiers, it was just for the Eastern Conference, and I think I put Toronto in like tier 4, and like people were just throwing tomatoes at me. So this is like a wrestler coming out and just shouting out the hometown now. So I'm just putting them in tier 1.
A makeup call.
Yeah, no, but like aside from like obviously we know the questions, like we've talked about it about like the Raptors long term, like about how they're gonna look in the playoffs. But if you're just strictly looking at results, and if you're just strictly following this team day to day based on the vibe of this team, like I feel like they do belong here. And I mean, there is an outside chance they might, if they finish the season in a particular way, they might end up in the play-in. Like, it's not, I guess, out of the realm of possibility. But I think all things considered, if you just look at this season in isolation, it's been a successful season. Like, it could have gone way worse. It could have gone sideways, and it hasn't. And I think just looking at this season alone, I have them here. I don't know if you agree with that.
No, I do. And I think, again, it's a perfect illustration of just like the way that expectations can shift the vibes for a particular team, right? Like coming off of 2 pretty miserable seasons, right? They're finally like emerging from the darkness into the light, playing competitive basketball again, looking like Scotty Barnes is like going to get a taste of playoff basketball for the first time since his rookie season. And Ingram coming over after a pretty desultory end to his Pelicans tenure, and he gets to have this like great all-star bounce back season. Like, it's all sort of gravy. And I think what's going to be really interesting to see is like, what does it look like next year when the expectations shift? When, obviously that will maybe depend in part on what happens the rest of the season and into the playoffs, but it's like, that's not going to be the situation coming into next year. The expectation is going to be a playoff team. And the expectation is going to be that like they're going to be able to take a step forward. And so I think they got to enjoy this for now, but something like I can't stop thinking about, and maybe, this is my problem, and I should just be enjoying this for now, but it's like I can't stop looking ahead and thinking like, how does this team really like take a meaningful next step, and how do the vibes survive the perhaps, I don't know if I'll say it's inevitable, but perhaps likely plateauing or stagnancy that lies ahead.
Well, I got this text the other day from someone in the basketball media circles, and we were talking about the Raptors, and they said they're the best bad team, capped out, ugly offense, no obvious path to contending or a meaningful reset for the next 3 years. Agree or disagree on this outlook?
I might put it in terms of like a little bit less harsh than that,
Okay.
but
Basically, they're saying the Raptors are going to become the Bulls.
I don't think that they're going to become the Bulls because they've already demonstrated a higher ceiling than. I mean, I guess the Bulls had that kind of run where they were number one in the Eastern Conference before like Lonzo got injured a couple years ago, and that's what they've been chasing ever since then. But I don't necessarily think the Raptors are going to be like stuck on the treadmill of like 500 dumb, like, you know, winning 39 to 41 games every year. But I think, you know, and I might be wrong about this, they might have a maneuver up their sleeve, or maybe like internal development happens in such a way that they can like break through the ceiling that I'm artificially imposing on them. But like, I could very much see them getting stuck in like somewhere between like 44 and 48 wins for the next few years. As much as Darko's out there being like, you know, I see the Raptors being championship contenders in 2 to 3 years. Right now, that's hard to envision for me. I don't, especially thinking about like, you know, what next year is going to look like. The way that I think the Eastern Conference is probably going to be more difficult next year than it is this year on account of like Tatum being back. I know he might be back this year, but like being back at like something close to full strength, Halliburton being back, and like the Pacers being a force to be reckoned with.
Don't sleep on my Wizards. Don't sleep on my Wizards, bro.
The Wizards, man, dude.
I was 1 year early. I was 1 year early on the Wizards, but they're coming. Yeah.
I think you might have been 2 years early on the Wizards, but
I think I was 56 years too early on them.
Nevertheless, like the Wizards actually might be pretty good next year, and you have this like huge infusion of talent that's coming in the 2026 draft that the Raptors aren't really going to be getting in on, at least not like the top of that draft. Where the talent seems to be concentrated. So, like, that's where I'm like, I just don't know. And the Raptors have all their own picks, and they're starting from a fairly high baseline. So, I'm not saying it's impossible that they could find a way to get to that next level, but I'm having a hard time seeing, like, upward mobility right now.
I think that's totally fair. And I think when we get to the playoffs and when we see what that looks like in the first round, and I think right now it's hard to envision the Raptors beating any of those teams in the top 6 in any matchup. Like, yeah, I think then all those questions are going to be brought into the summer. But stop ruining this exercise, okay? The Raptors
all of this
are
to
tier
say,
one.
Yeah. For now, the vibes are great, and I hope they can sustain them because
That's right.
you know they might need to ride those vibes if they can't, you know, ride their own, I guess, talent level to like another step in their team-wide development.
That's right. All right, tier 2. So I put 2 teams in here. To me, these are, I guess I call them the favorites. I think these are 2 teams with title aspirations who can feel relatively good about themselves, even though they've dealt with some adversity here in the regular season. And that's OKC and Denver. We know Shea's out right now. And OKC was on that blistering, like, historical pace. People were talking about 73 wins. That slowed down. You know, Denver, you know, got Jokic back. I think Aaron Gordon is still out. Peyton Watson, is out now for, like, I think the next month. But to me, these 2 teams have to feel pretty good about themselves, just because I think fully healthy going to the playoffs. Like, I think these are the 2 favorites to me. Yeah,
with both of them, it's just about health, right? Mm-hmm. Like the Nuggets need Aaron Gordon to be healthy, and he just hasn't really been for much of this season. I think he's played like 22 games, and you know, he came back and then he got injured again, and this hamstring thing just seems to be lingering, and he's a really, really, really important piece of that team. So I think they have a lot riding on him being able to like get back healthy in time for the playoffs. But you know, apart from that, they've had this like great development story from Peyton Watson, who's made a really important, consequential leap for them this season. And Jamal Murray, like all-star for the first time, finally like hits the ground running instead of just like peaking in the second half, which I don't know. Hopefully he can like sustain that peak and he's not like he didn't peak too early. But it was nice to see him like actually have a good season, like from the jump to the point that he was able to be named an all-star. He's playing, you know, basically the best basketball of his regular season career, at least. And Jokic is Jokic. So I think as long as they're healthy, they're like the biggest threat to the Thunder. And with the Thunder, yeah, it's like they've been one of the most snake-bitten teams in the league, which is really incredible considering they still are like 42-14 and sitting on top of the Western Conference. Like, that really speaks to their depth. But, they, like, Jalen Williams just, like, hasn't really been healthy, hasn't looked like himself even when he's been on the floor this season, so that's a big point of concern. Shea is out with this abdominal injury now. They've had, like, just a ton of man games lost, between those guys, Hartenstein, Caruso. So yeah, it's great that they've been able to put together this amazing record and like sustain this amazing defense with all of those guys in and out of the lineup. But obviously, they need everybody to be healthy come playoff time if they want to repeat. So I think for those two teams, it's really just dependent on that.
Do you still have OKC as like the overwhelming favorite here, or do you think the gap's closed a little bit with some of these other West teams?
I don't know about overwhelming favorite, but if they're healthy, they're the favorite. I think that's to me that's pretty clear. Despite the sort of head-to-head record against the Spurs going San Antonio's way, I would still favor OKC in a series. But I do think, with J-Dub in particular, like that's the guy who I want to see him like have a sustained stretch where he's healthy on the floor and like starts looking a little bit more like the guy he was last season. And like, granted, he wasn't 100% healthy through the playoffs last year, or maybe even close to it. With that thumb injury he was dealing with, and they still won the championship. But it does feel like the path might be like a little bit more challenging for them this time around. Like I think, Denver pushed them to 7 last year, and a fully healthy Nuggets team this year is better than the team that they faced last year. I don't know. I maybe it's not that different, but like I think they'd be hard pressed to repeat if J-Dub wasn't like close to fully healthy. And same goes for Hartenstein, honestly. Like he's been in and out of the lineup, and he's a sneaky, like super important part of what they do, especially on offense. So
yeah, speaking of Hartenstein, did you see Nick Wright propose the idea that All-Star should be team white guys versus black guys? In that case, which team would Hartenstein pick? Sorry, man. These thoughts just go through my head sometimes. Tier 3, quick transition. Tier 3, to me, these are the teams that are win-now teams who are feeling the pressure a little bit here. This is actually the most interesting tier to me that I want to talk to you about. So I've got Cleveland in here. Obviously, just added James Harden. The Knicks, Houston. Have you checked out kdfiles.com? Somebody put together a very comprehensive website of all of KD's potential burner accounts. This feels like something that would not interest you at all.
It doesn't, but I must admit I did read through the files because curiosity got the best of me.
It's a slow week in the NBA,
Well, also like just knowing that we were going to be talking about vibes on this podcast. I mean, it felt prudent for me to understand like what we're talking about when it comes to the Rockets, and like I feel like having read through that we gotta drop them down a few tiers, man. Like this might be a crisis situation, dude.
No, I'm open to dropping Houston into its own tier. Like they've been caught in the Kevin Durant Twitter vortex, Like they might belong in their own. I got the Lakers in here, Minnesota, Philadelphia, Orlando. I guess looking at the East teams that I have in this tier, which team is most interesting to you for the rest of the season here?
I think probably Philly. Well, Philly, New York, Cleveland. I guess I'm not really picking one, but like
yeah,
Cleveland right now is like really feeling the like just acquired James Harden bump.
Yeah, they call it honeymoon Harden, man.
Yeah, like all-time NBA leader in honeymoon phases.
Yeah,
like. You get him in the door, he comes in on his absolute best behavior, like giving maximum effort at both ends of the floor. Like that win they had against Denver, he was playing like heroic defense in the clutch in that game, like genuinely. And like, spoon feeding Jared Allen the easiest buckets of his life. And it's like, man, this is amazing. We got James Harden, like we're feeling ourselves. We look like a contender. But that's never been the issue with Harden, right? Like the early stages are always amazing, and then it's a question of what happens when you hit a little bit of adversity, when you get into a playoff series, like how does that go? And that's I think those are all the questions. Like Cleveland can't answer really any questions, I don't think, until April and May.
Yeah, but just on paper, like they've upgraded with Harden, right? And like you can see the results, I guess, so far.
They've upgraded with Harden in the sense that Harden plays.
Yes.
And Darius Garland was not playing at a consistent level in terms of like his availability or his production, frankly. Like he just couldn't stay healthy, and when he would be injured, it would just like completely kneecap their entire identity. I actually think like the Garland we saw for most of last season, like during the regular season, before like once again he was like injured and not himself during the playoffs, is I think a better fit with what Cleveland wants to be. Like their offense with what Garland could do is sort of like a water bug on the ball and a guy who skitter around and like just have this sort of like fast twitch, get into the teeth of the defense, make really sick passes, like, shoot off of the catch, all the stuff that Harden doesn't always do, like where he wants to be like really more of a ball dominant type of guard. To me, that fit better with their offensive ethos. But it became clear that they weren't going to get that guy this year. So for this season, I think that's an upgrade. I don't know. I don't know what that looks like once they get into a playoff setting. But for now, the vibes are as high as they're probably going to be.
No, I'm telling you, this is the year, man. This is a year that Harden's going to deliver in like a critical Game 7 in like the second round. He's fooled me like 18 times, but I'm back. I'm back. Yo, the 19th time or whatever, this is the year, man. I'm telling you. He's going to do it, man.
If there's like, honestly, like I just can't get there because if there are two things that have burned me as like an NBA watcher, analyst, whatever you want to call me over the years, it's like believing in Cleveland and believing in James Harden. Like,
well, I think what we need is a Cleveland-Philly second round, like between Embiid and Harden that goes 7. And then someone's gotta finally shed one of the narratives, man.
The stoppable force meets the movable object.
Well, I think it'd be amazing if like Harden goes like 1 of 15 in like Game 7, and Embiid throws up a dud as well. It's just like nobody actually wins, but one of them actually gets to go to the conference finals. I think that would be the best result. Lakers, I don't know, man. Lakers have they have a good record, but to me, it's just like. They feel like another team that I'm like, okay, like how far can this team as currently constructed actually go? Like to me, it's like, can they even get out of the first round in the West? Is how I'm feeling about them.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think if they win a series, that's like that should be considered a success, which is, maybe you'd expect the bar to be higher for a team that has Luka Doncic and LeBron James and Austin Reeves, but like. I think they're obviously like very shallow, have like some pretty clear holes on the roster that, DeAndre Ayton hasn't fully addressed their center situation, I don't think. So
speaking of another honeymoon player, man, he was getting gassed up so much the first month.
Was he?
Yes, no, Lakers fans were buying in, man. Yeah. And,
I mean,
that quickly went away.
Yeah, like that might have just been because they're coming off a season where like Jackson Hayes was their number one option at center, and like the rest of the time
another guy that League Pass needs to delete. Yeah, that's another deleter. We should have an all deleter team. It's just all bad guys. Anyways,
So
I don't know, man.
Those
are the teams. Those are the teams I feel like are feeling the pressure. I like Minnesota a lot, man. Like, I know, obviously they've got the back-to-back conference finals appearances. And, like, I think we always talk about, like, OKC, Denver, obviously, in their own tier. And then you can slot San Antonio in there as well. I feel like Minnesota belongs up there, man. Like, they've proven they can beat these teams. Can they do it in a 7-game series? I don't know. I mean, they've done it to Denver.
I think they belong, like, if I was tiering the Western Conference, I still think I would have OKC probably in their own tier. Again, like health permitting. But I think if you were creating a second tier, I guess it's probably just like Denver, Minnesota. Yeah. I don't know, like, I don't think like the Lakers belong in that tier.
Man,
Houston belong in that
Houston
tier.
has fallen off, eh? Like they came in so strong to start the season, but
dude, this is what happens when you lose Steven Adams for the year. Like the exact same thing happened to Memphis a couple of years ago. They were at the top of the West.
Yeah.
Jaws doing interviews being like, I'm good in the West. Like they're riding high. And it's easy to forget. Like, it wasn't that long ago, but that was kind of like everybody's darling. Everyone was picking them at that point to win the West, and then they lose Steven Adams for the year, and it all goes to hell. And it's happening again in Houston, man. Like,
damn, man, he a low key MVP candidate, man. Damn.
Yo, for real.
Tier 4, excited for next year. You know, these teams are going nowhere this year, but I think vibes are decent now, just because of some of the moves that they've made. You know, I've got Indiana, Washington, and Utah in here. Of course, all three teams recently made moves. Indiana, you know, they're going to get Halliburton back, and of course they added Zubac. Washington, they got Trae Young and AD on ice and some decent young players. And Utah looks like they're finally going to try to win next year with adding Jaren Jackson Jr. Which of these three teams are you most intrigued by for next season?
I think Indiana, just because we've seen what the top level looks like, and you know they've basically, like, they're going to roll into next season with a pretty similar team to the one that made the finals. You know, what is Halliburton going to look like, I guess, next year is like the biggest question. But then it's also like going from Miles Turner to Ivica Zubac. I think Zubac is a better player, but is a much different type of center than Miles Turner. So seeing kind of like how his style fits with Indiana's preferred style of offense is going to be really interesting to me. Like, he doesn't provide that stretch quality, but he's going to set like much better screens than Miles Turner did. You know, finish more effectively inside, has more of a post game, probably better rim protector at this point. So I'm really interested to see what they look like coming off of this like kind of gap year. And then they're also going to add almost certainly a top 5 pick in this draft, right? So they could really like rocket right back up to the top of the Eastern Conference pecking order in a hurry. You know, I don't think Washington has like that level of a switch to flip, but honestly, with like the development of some of their young guys, like I'm really intrigued by Sarr and Keyshawn George, and then, you know, adding like Trae Young and Anthony Davis, kind of like this ready-made pick and roll duo. Just sticking them on that team and like seeing what happens. I'm like very curious to see how quickly they can return to something resembling competence.
Yeah, and they really didn't have to give up anything to get those two guys, man. Like, a couple of draft picks out the door here and there. So shouts to whoever the Washington GM is. I think he used to work for the Clippers, right?
Is it Michael Winger?
Yeah. I don't really know the ins and outs of the Wizards, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But, you know, yeah, no, I'm excited to see my Wizards, you know, who made the chill choice and added 2 stars this season. And, you know, basketball can be really stressful, but your choice of beer does not have to be, because Coors Light delivers mountain cold refreshment, and the mountain turns blue. The beer is as cold and refreshing as the Rockies. Listen, it's going to be stressful down the stretch, you know, following the Raptors, making sure they stay in the top 6, you know, watching your other favorite teams. But, you know, when you're stressed, when you feel stressed, just, you know, put that Coors Light in the fridge. When you bring it back out, you'll see the can. It's Mountain Blue. And Coors Light is cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold certified for a smoother finish. And when the game heats up, why not make the chill choice by grabbing a crisp, refreshing Coors Light? Find Coors Light near you. Visit CoorsLightShop.ca. And now we have another ad. Karem, play it. Hey man, you've been working really hard this season on the podcast. I think it's time you take a break.
I agree with you. You know, I was looking at the calendar and I saw I got a bit of a week off, and I think I'm going to make a trip to one of my favorite cities in the world, Mexico City.
Oh man, I love Mexico City, man. Well, one of the things to figure out, you got to book a spot there, man. You going to be using Airbnb?
Of course. Last time I was in CDMX, I did use Airbnb, and I found an amazing spot. It was in Roma, one of my favorite neighborhoods, and the best part about it, I still think about it to this day, it had this personal patio on the rooftop. You're able to wake up every morning to all this sunlight, which you do not get a lot of in the winter where we are, and I might just go right back to that same spot.
Yeah, now that you talk about it, I kind of want to go on a trip too, man. I think I banked about like 15 vacation days in April. Probably gonna go with some friends, maybe 6-7 of them, and man, I gotta find a spot that's spacious and in a good location.
Okay, well, first off, I hope I get that invite, okay? But while you're looking for that, have you checked out the guest favorites feature? You know, it shows you the most well-loved places by guests, the highest rated scores, And I think it's just a great way to find the spot that you're looking for, so that you can live like a local and outside of all the touristy areas.
Yo, that's a great call, man. All right, let's both take a break, book our trip, and use Airbnb. Did you have questions about my goatee in that ad, Joel Wolfond?
I did. For a second, I thought you were somehow doing that ad read with a face mash like you and Will. I don't think I've ever seen you with that level of facial hair before. What happened?
Yeah, it's been historically cold here in Toronto. Today's another dark day.
I'm sure those wisps on your chin really helped.
No, it wasn't to keep me warm. I just kind of gave up on life for 3 weeks. Wasn't really going outside that much. And I guess my personal grooming just kind of fell off, By the way, this is not an ad. But, have you tried the new OVO McDonald's collab, Wolfond?
Have I tried it? No. What does that mean?
No, it just came out this week. You get a special Drake meal.
And nobody's paying you to say this.
No. This is not an ad. But I just saw people are selling these cups for $150 on eBay. Which
Jesus
is hilarious.
Christ.
Because it's Canada only, so I guess people are trying to sell it like worldwide and stuff. Yeah, so if anyone's interested, $100, I got you.
Oh my God.
All right, Tier 5. Tier 5, I called this what's the plan, kind of where are these teams going. I put Golden State, Miami, and Atlanta in here. Can you explain these teams to me?
I mean, Golden State, I just feel like if Steph were as insecure as KD is, I feel like he's probably saying a lot of the same things about his teammates.
Oh, God.
His teammates in the group chat. Like, what? Like with Jimmy
you gotta
Butler,
specify. Like, is it the one about Devin Booker or the one about Jabari Smith? Because there's different levels.
I mean, I just think he's got to be like so exasperated, and you see it come out of him sometimes. Like
Sure.
generally he puts on a pretty brave face. He seems like an amazing teammate. Mm-hmm. But you can see the exasperation seep out of him.
But do you not also feel like, listen, he's got 4 championships.
Yeah.
Whatever. All the legacy talk.
Well, that's what I mean. That's why he doesn't.
Right?
That's why he doesn't have those same insecurities.
Right. Like I don't
he's
think
stamped.
Yeah. Like there's no way. Like to me, he's the one guy that I'm like, there's no way he'll end up on another team to finish his career. Like
Right.
he will
So
finish his career there.
I think that's all true, but I think he still wants to win, right? Like he's
Sure.
still a hyper competitive dude, and obviously sees that he's in the twilight of his career, still playing at a really high level, and just has to be looking around and like being like, how did it come to this? Like I have literally no chance to compete, like no chance to win a playoff series this year, even with what's left on that Warriors team. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I guess I'm interested to see if like Porzingis can get on the floor in the second half and what that looks like and how he can fit. Like
that's tough when that's like the X factor.
That is, yeah, it's not what you want to be relying on, right? But like in theory, there's a lot of logic to it because it's like, you don't necessarily want Draymond playing the 5, at least not on a like big minute basis at this point in his career. But then it's like because he can't shoot the ball, and you need a center to play next to him. Like you want that center to be able to stretch the floor. So in that sense, like Porzingis, a guy who can stretch the floor and protect the rim, is like a pretty good front court fit with Draymond. But then also in terms of like the read and react flow style offense that the Warriors like to play, I don't know if Porzingis is the best fit for that. But I am, curious to see like if he can get on the floor, what does it look like with like Steph, Draymond, and Porzingis all out there together, and you can sort of like fill in those lineups with Pajemski, Moses Moody. D'Anthony Melton's been pretty good for them, I guess.
No, that's your guy, man.
That's the thing. Like
that's your swing guy. That's the all Joe Wolfond team, man. First team.
Love D'Anthony Melton, man. Grizzlies haven't been the same since letting him go either. Should point that out.
All I'm saying is if you just get a healthy D'Anthony Melton and Steven Adams for 82 games, you can build around that. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. Anyway, yeah, it's just like that's where the Warriors are at. Like that's what they're kind of banking on is like D'Anthony Melton and then Kristaps Porzingis' health. It's not where you want to be if you're Steph Curry and you're trying to squeeze the most out of these last couple of prime years that you have.
Yeah, well, what about Miami? I mean, I mean, you didn't watch All Star Saturday, but I'm sure you saw, Keshad Johnson won the slam dunk contest, and Pat Riley actually made the trip. I'm sure for other reasons, but to also watch his guy win the dunk contest. But like they've had this collection of players for like how many years now? Like Bam, Tyler Hero. Norm. Great year, All Star, but he's gonna have to get paid. Andrew Wiggins is there. They seem to be like always mentioned, as a destination whenever a superstar is disgruntled. But they obviously haven't been able to pull off like a Dame trade, a Giannis trade, anything like that. Like, do you see any pathway for Miami outside of landing a superstar of just going anywhere in the near future?
Yeah, I mean that's it really just does like come down to whether they can swing a Giannis trade, right?
Yeah.
Or I guess like the next star who becomes available, because as currently constructed, I think their ceiling is pretty well established. I like Ware a lot, but again, they're sort of in a similar boat to the Raptors in the sense that like I think this team's got a reasonably high floor, and they have a lot of players that I like, but I just don't know if like there's a ton of upward mobility there with the group that they have. So it's like, can they make some kind of a consolidation move that changes that ceiling? That's really like the big question, I think, for them moving forward. Because I do think Ware is like a guy who can get better. And like, I don't know, is there anybody else on the team that you see as like being like having a ton of growth potential?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's tough. They just have a collection of like decent guys, like to me. And I don't know. That's hard to package for a superstar too, but who knows? Maybe we'll flash forward 6 months and Masai and Giannis will be there. Yeah, that's Will's big grand conspiracy theory, because Masai lives in Miami now and stuff. You don't see it?
I mean, it's possible. Sure. I don't know. Is Giannis ever gonna like ask for a trade without backtracking like 5 seconds later?
And then announcing a partnership with Kalshi. Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Giannis has lost a lot of cool points, I feel like, but I still back him. Yeah. All right, next up here, because I have no interest in talking about Atlanta. Tier 6. I just put these two teams in, speaking of Giannis, as a superstar purgatory. So 2 teams with generational superstars, but they're really going nowhere. Milwaukee and, of course, the Clippers. If the Clippers hadn't traded Harden and Zubac, I would probably have them way higher up, especially coming off, Kawhi's been playing great the last couple months, and, he showed out at All-Star Weekend. I would have talked myself for the 8th straight year into the Clippers. But now that they've made these trades, like I don't really see any upside to them for this season. Yeah, which team would you rather be if you were the GM, Milwaukee or the Clippers?
I mean, I guess without knowing
you
whether
you would find a better job. Yeah, you would stay freelancing. Yeah.
Well, without knowing whether the hammer is really going to come down on the Clippers, it's hard to say. Like,
yeah,
if you think that it's just going to be like a slap on the wrist, then I think it's the Clippers easily. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe not actually. I think Milwaukee, they're in an absolutely terrible spot right now, but they have this sort of silver bullet in that trading Giannis can still get them like the type of package that can help them really rebuild, right? So I think in that sense, I don't know, maybe you'd prefer to be them, but like they honestly, like if I were the Bucks, I would just be like, I would honestly like completely ignore anything that Giannis says publicly or privately about whether he wants to be traded or not, and just like make their own decision on their own timeline and do what's best for them, which is obviously like trading him and getting the best package that they can. And I don't know, maybe they can get a better package in the offseason than they would have been able to get at this trade deadline, because like there are more teams that are going to have like more draft assets to trade, and some team or other will like flame out of the playoffs and get desperate. But like, I don't know, it just seems to me, and I don't know, maybe Giannis' injury is such that he wouldn't have been able to contribute to a playoff run this year anyway, but it just seems to me like given that you could have gotten at least, 2 guaranteed playoff runs with Giannis, that he would have had more value this season than he'll have in the offseason, but maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I feel like if a couple of teams here, like in the playoffs, I mean, teams are inevitably going to flame out, like in the playoffs, and maybe the packages get better. Maybe one team gets really desperate, but no, I get your point. But also, hey, on the flip side, you see Cam Thomas's first couple of games in Milwaukee. I'm just saying, Milwaukee gets a nice lottery pick, pair that with Cam Thomas and Giannis, and that's the next big three, man. And we delete Kevin Porter Jr. Yeah. It seems like Giannis is trying to give the Bucks every reason to just give them any reason to stay, Like, just make this team half decent, give it a little upside. But I don't see it.
That's a trap, though. Like, that's what I mean.
Yes, of course. Like, yeah, it is a trap. Yeah.
And, like, I mean, I don't know if they are thinking this way. Maybe they're not. But they just, like, can't let Giannis hold them hostage. Like, they can't let themselves get carried away or deluded into thinking that they can salvage this and keep Giannis and get back to a place where they're contending for championships with him. That door is closed. It's not going to happen. And like we already saw, this past offseason, they made this like Miles Turner gambit where it had to come along with waiving and stretching Dame to the point that like they're functionally paying Miles Turner, close to $50 million for the next couple of seasons. And it's like, and they're going to have, Dame's sort of like stretched contract on their books for another 4 or 5 years. It's like they didn't have to do that. Like they could have just bit the bullet and accepted that it was over and moved on and been in a much better place from a rebuilding standpoint now. Like it's a trap and they need to extricate themselves from this situation. Like they need to just get on with it and trade him.
Yeah, I mean, I've made this analogy many times, but it's like sometimes when you're married with someone for so long, like it's hard to see the big picture, Like you just want to do everything to try to salvage the situation. And so I understand from Milwaukee's perspective.
Somehow you always bring it back to divorce. I'm really impressed with your
Hey, I didn't use the word, man. Why did you use it? Whoa, calm down there, man. Anyways, I'm just saying I understand Milwaukee's perspective. Like it's hard to let go. Like no, like I know it all makes sense on paper, but I just think it's so hard when you're like an organization like Milwaukee, right? Like, it's not like you're the Lakers or whatever, and you're just going to have a generational superstar walk in, like, every 10 years or whatever.
No, for sure. Yeah. I get it. But
yes, I'm completely in agreement with you. Like, Milwaukee's got to just forget about, like, whatever Giannis is trying to say publicly and just make the move. Like, it's about time. Do you buy into the theory? I mean, it's been bounced around that, like, oh, Clippers obviously feel like maybe a big punishment is coming, so they're just getting ahead of that. And, like, obviously recouping some assets for, like, Zubac and getting younger with Harden and stuff. Because, they were on a really nice run there before they broke up this team. So I don't even know. Like, what do you think, if you had to guess, like, what do you think the Kawhi punishment is going to be?
Well, okay. So, like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the evidence that Pablo has unearthed over the course of, I think it's been like 8 different episodes now.
No, it's part 12, actually. It's
part 12. Wow.
12. Yeah.
I mean, it seems pretty irrefutable, right? Like, I know it is still, like, technically, like, you would still have to just, like, call it all, like, circumstantial evidence, but, like, as far as circumstantial evidence, like, there's no, like, email with Steve Ballmer's name on it being, like, do this cap circumvention scheme.
Yes, it's like, I am committing a crime here.
But literally, like, short of that, I don't know what else they would need to see to convince them that that's what took place here.
Yeah, and I think there's probably pressure from, like, other teams and other owners to really set a precedent here and not, like, let the Clippers get away with this or whatever, right?
Yeah, you would think. Unless there's, like, this is like a cabal of corrupt owners who are all, like, doing some shady dealings
which is also very possible.
That they don't want to set a precedent of that sort, right?
Sure,
yeah. But, like, I don't know, man. I would have to think that given everything that has been unearthed, that there would be some sort of draft pick punishment. And, like,
there's been talks of, like, his contract might get voided, which I feel like works out for everyone.
Yeah, like, I don't know if... I don't think that's going to happen because I just think that's too convoluted in terms of like who actually benefits from that. Because then it's like, okay, so what does Kawhi do then? Like, could
Kawhi get suspended? Could they suspend Kawhi for like a year? Like, could that be something that they do?
I think that is something they could do. Like, anything is on the table, right? Like, if you obviously like the closest comp for this is like the Joe Smith thing,
sure,
which was like
they got stripped of like first rounders, I think, for like 5 years.
5 years, and then I think they reduced it to 3.
Right. Right.
But I mean, do the Clippers even have like that many first rounders that could be stripped from them? Like,
yeah, I think it would have to be the 2032 to 2036 picks or something.
Jesus.
My idea has always been Steve Ballmer is still allowed to go to games, but he has to sit at the wall. Yeah, like he can't sit courtside.
Here's my question related to like what you asked about. You know, could they suspend Kawhi for a year? Could they void his contract? Something like that, right? I think like the question that they're probably trying to figure out that we have to ask ourselves is like, who really deserves like the brunt of the blame for this, and who should the punishment really fall on?
So in terms of like player or the owners, like player.
Yeah,
or
and I think, you know, like obviously Kawhi and Uncle Dennis, like they, to some extent, like, you know, they understood that what they were doing was like below board, and they pushed for it anyway. So, you know, they're obviously not completely exempt from criticism or punishment in all of this, but like, really, ultimately, it's the Clippers who acquiesced to those illicit demands and, you know, broke the rules. So I think, really, if the hammer has to fall on anybody, it should be the team first and foremost. And I guess in this, like, that is a punishment to Kawhi as well because he has to play for that team. But like, I don't know, man. I really don't know how this is all going to shake out. But I'm very curious, obviously, to see what happens.
Yeah, I think it's equal blame. I think both Kawhi and the Clippers, I guess, have to get punished in their own way. But like you said, if they punish one, it'll hurt the other. I don't know, man. Just void Kawhi's contract and have a Kawhi lottery. It'd be so fun, man. Well, he just gets to enter free agency for no reason. Oh, that'd be sick. Tier 7. Like, yeah, what were you gonna say?
Add him to the 2026 draft class. So like,
oh my god. This is like the opposite of these NBA players who are now going back to college now. I don't even know what's going on in the world anymore. I just accept any news item that comes my way.
They should let Kawhi reclassify, man. Like,
he just goes back to like San Diego State. He finally gets to go to his true home. Oh my god. Tier 7, I have these teams currently rebooting, so rebuilding teams, but you know, with some upside. Put Portland in here, Dallas, New Orleans. Yo, every year I look at New Orleans roster, I'm like, yo, they got some guys, man. And then I check the standings, and they're just absolutely horrid. Like, are they ever going to be, like, decent? Like, last year, I swear, they started out, like, 0-11 or something, and the season was, like, a wash.
I know. I had so much hope for them, like, when they, like coming up with that, you know, Zion, Ingram core.
Yeah. No, but even now with, like, you know, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, you know, of course, you know, they're
Queen and
the
Fears.
Rookies. Yeah, Queen and Fears. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of promise there, but it's like, when is it, like, I don't know, man. They just seem like a cursed franchise to me.
They do. Like, I mean, in terms of, like, all the injuries that have beset them over the years, like, the way the whole... I mean, it's like they landed the number 1 pick in 2, like, you know, generational number 1 draft type of classes, right? Like, Anthony Davis, Zion Williamson, like these are like all-time type of prospects. And they won both of those lotteries, and it amounted to absolutely bupkis. You know, like one series victory that time that AD and Drew Holiday demolished the Blazers. Like that's the high point for this franchise. And it's like, yeah, whether it's just been injuries or you know, on or off court tension, like things have just not worked out for them. And I mean, the trade they made this past offseason was just like, Queen looks great. So I guess kudos to them for identifying that he was going to be a player, but I just don't like to give up their unprotected pick in this year's draft that very well could wind up being number 1 is insane. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, they got to just like push forward. Obviously, like that's a sunk cost. That pick is gone. They have to just be thinking about, I guess, building around Fears and Queen and like maybe Trey Murphy if they want to keep him long term. I still harbor dreams of him being a Raptor one day, but
I'm just saying, New Orleans always got these players that every team wants, and somehow they can't be good themselves.
Yeah, it's like that's the. Well, I'm not going to go there.
What were you going to say, man?
Well, I was like thinking it's like about the Raptors a couple years ago. You know, like they had all these players.
Yeah, when they had
all these other teams that have gone on to like
guys,
absolutely thrive elsewhere, and they couldn't make it work themselves. So
yeah,
like they were not as dire as the Pelicans, obviously, but
no, like the Pelicans are 15-41, man.
Crazy.
Like how is that possible? Like on any night you could watch them, and there's no way they seem that bad, but whatever. Tier 8 in the mud. I got these teams going absolutely nowhere soon. Chicago, Sacramento, Brooklyn. I put Memphis in here as well. Once again, I asked you the question: if you had to take one of these GM's jobs, which one would you take?
Probably Memphis.
Okay.
I still think they have like enough to kind of build with.
Yeah.
I mean, their owner might be a war criminal, but like apart from that.
Oh yeah, I saw that article too. I believe 4 owners are profiting off this. Yeah.
I want to know what Adam Silver's saying about Pablo Torre in private. Like, these are the conversations that I want to be a fly on the wall.
Don't you wish? I mean, we've all done some reporting in our lifetimes, but like not obviously to this level of impact. Like just one time, imagine one of us did reporting enough to like bring down like the Boston Celtics organization. Like, do you know how crazy we would be celebrated in Toronto? Like, we'd be like Joe Carter level, like never have to pay for a drink type. Like, imagine if you exposed the Celtics like inner workings and got them like suspended and like Tatum's contract voided and stuff.
Yeah, what do you think would be the scandal that undid them?
I actually don't know, man. It would have to be something gambling related, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like Will said in the chat, man. Bobby Marks' first GM to survive 4 rebuilds, man. Like, Bobby Marks was around when... No, who am I saying? Sean Marks. I keep saying Bobby Marks.
Yeah.
Sean Marks was there when, like, Prokhorov was there, man.
No, like, Bobby Marks was there. Was like the architect
Bobby
behind...
Marks was also there, not
behind the worst rated NBA history.
No, like, somehow Sean Marks has, like, the best job security in the league, man. It's crazy. Yeah.
Well, I think it's, like, to a certain extent, there's been a lot of stuff that's happened beyond his control, right? Like, he took over when... Like, in the wake of that disastrous KG Paul Pierce trade, when they had shelled out, like, all of their assets for, like, at least a half decade, and were not only absolutely terrible, but had, like, no assets really to show for it. And he basically, like, rebuilt that team into one that was, like, attractive enough that KD and Kyrie wanted to go there. Then they decided to, like, push even further by trading for James Harden. And for a second there, they're like the best team in the league. And then again, due to circumstances, I guess, I don't know if you want to say it's beyond his control because he chose to acquire those players who had, you know, I guess checkered backgrounds.
The pandemic happened. Kyrie opened his third eye, like all of that stuff. Yeah. Which are a little bit beyond his control. Those are some black swan events, you know what I'm saying?
They are, but it's also like, okay, well, you know, he decided to get 3 guys who are, you know, to some extent mercurial personalities who have a history of kind of like walking out on teams, and those guys walked out on him. So I don't think he can be completely exempt of blame, but like, yeah, a lot of things happen beyond his control. So I think there's got to be some acknowledgement that like he's doing his best here, and he did take literally like the worst situation in the entire NBA when he took over. And within like 3 years, he had James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving. And that team looked like the championship favorite, you know? So you got to give him some credit for that.
Yeah. What about Chicago and Sacramento, man? Between those two, which team's going to get it together first, bro?
I mean, I'm kind of inclined to say Sacramento just because, like, okay, I got to make sure. They have their own pick this year, right?
I think so, yeah.
So, like, if they just end up with, you know, Darren Peterson.
They're the worst team right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got the best odds right now. Yeah. Currently on a
I don't know.
14,
The rest of that team
currently
is
on
such
a
a
14
disaster
game
still.
losing streak. Oh man.
They're so bad, man.
You know another thing they should do for tanking? If your team finishes last for 2 straight seasons, ownership has to sell the team. Yeah.
But like,
No, you know how
are
you know
the Kings,
how enter-
are the
you know how
Kings
entertaining-
tanking?
No,
Are
but
the
you know how
Kings
entertaining
tanking?
that would be though? It's like, oh, Kings are almost near the worst record against second season. Like Vivek Ranadive's gonna make all these trades just to make sure they win now. I guess that would just continue the problem. So never mind, not a solution. Yeah. No.
I honestly,
solution for tanking.
I just sort of hope that like the lottery gods reward the Kings for just being like genuinely really bad.
Yeah.
You know, like they didn't. There's no chicanery going on here. Like they're not sitting guys. They're not like doing anything untoward to try and like race to the bottom of the standings. They just built a team that fucking sucks.
No, yeah, they simply have a terrible team, which I do kind of respect. It's just so funny, man. They literally had that 1 year blip, you know, lighting the beam, getting to the playoffs, and somehow nothing came of it. Like they just went back to being the Kings. Like that's insane. That fan base has had one good year in like the last 25 years. 25.
It's
plus,
incredible.
man.
Yeah. So like honestly, they deserve to win the lottery, and like, you know, whether it's DeBonsa or Peterson, like get one of those guys, and hopefully start their journey back toward respectability. But I don't know, man. It's looking pretty dire for the Bulls as well. Like I don't like what's the Bulls' path back to relevancy?
Just, you know, sign all 8 of those guards that they got. You know, Simons turns into a superstar.
Simons, Ivy. Did they
You know,
get Sexton also?
Yeah, they still got Pat Williams, you know. Pat Williams, he got to get it together one of these days. Yeah, I don't know, man. These teams are tough. But I feel like in the East, you're always just a couple moves away. The Bulls are a couple moves away from getting right back into the play-in, man. They're right there.
Yeah,
They're
I
right
suppose.
there, man. All right, before we go, Karem, this segment is a presentation of ToonieBet online sportsbook and casino. Thousands of slot games and live casino at your fingertips, and a sportsbook made for Ontario. Get your game on with ToonieBet. The Raptors are back in action tomorrow against those Chicago Bulls, and they are -6.5 favorites at -113 odd. I like Toronto to open the quote-unquote second half of their season with a win on the road, because the Bulls are terrible. And, you know, the Raptors have been a pretty good road team this season. So make sure you hit up ToonieBet.com for all your sports betting needs. ToonieBet is licensed and registered by the AGCO and iGaming Ontario 19+. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. All right, Wolfond. Thank you for joining me. I see people in the chat was asking for us to go through the KD files. I'll spare you that, but yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that on Friday. Cash is going to join me. I'm sure Cash would love to go through the KD files with me and just read them out loud. Maybe I'll just have them read out loud. What happened to the game that I love, man? We doing Twitter files now. We talking about avoiding players' contracts. We talking about tanking. It's tough, man. What are you looking forward to the rest of this season, man?
Like Raptors wise, or just general NBA?
Yeah,
wise?
just general, you know, general wise, or just in your life. Yeah.
In my life. Nothing to smile about in my life. No, I mean I'm very curious to see how like the East shakes out. Like whether, you know, the Pistons have obviously separated themselves during the regular season as like clearly the best team in the East, but can that carry over to the playoffs? Like, is Tatum going to come back? What will he look like when he comes back? Can James Harden, you know, get it done in the playoffs?
Yes, he can.
With the Cavaliers, you know, can I think like Embiid was like healthy, and then he was kind of like picked up an injury before the All-Star break. So like, can he have like one healthy playoff run? Like just one, just give us one. And he doesn't, you know, he have to be like the number one guy for Philly right now. Like they've got Maxey, who is like clearly it's become his team. So in that context, can Embiid thrive in a playoff setting? Like, can Philly get something done? I think there's like so much still to be decided in the Eastern Conference in particular that I'm very curious to see. And, I guess we'll see if the Raptors can win a couple of playoff games. That's
Damn. Come on, man. You gotta set
no,
your expectations
no. I mean,
higher
like
than that.
in the right matchup, like they could have a competitive series and like maybe even win it.
Who is that
but,
one? Which one of that matchup is there? Which team would you most want the Raptors to face in round one?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it seems like the top 4 right now is kind of pretty firmly entrenched. So you're really just like deciding which of those teams are going to wind up playing. So like if they stay at 5, they'll get Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think that might. Well, yeah, I kind of think that might be their best shot. I would have said the Pistons before I watched them get absolutely destroyed with Duren and Isaiah Stewart out of the lineup, and they just still couldn't score on Detroit.
Tough.
So, like, I don't think they'd be able to score at all. And I think Cleveland is, like... There's, like, maybe... I think that might be, like, the one matchup where they actually have, like, a physicality advantage. Or at least, like, wouldn't have a physicality disadvantage. And so that might give them a chance in that series to just, like, grind their way to a series win. And obviously, like, I'm throwing out the 3-0 record against Cleveland this season because, like, the Cavs were really injured in all those games. And they didn't have Harden then. But, I guess Cleveland is the team. And that right now seems like the most likely matchup for them in the first round. So there you go. Something to dream on.
Yeah, something to dream on. All right. Wolfond, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate you. Hope you go enjoy the weather outside today.
Yesterday was unbelievable, man. I was like walking around soaking it all in because I knew it
you're
was
probably
gonna
in
be
shorts.
brief,
Did you go out in shorts or what?
No, I'm not that dude, man.
It's getting towards that. It's getting towards that time of year where guys get real anxious to go out in shorts.
Yeah. No, yesterday was that type of day for sure. Like I saw people out in shorts. I just wasn't one of them. But
okay. You're not part of the problem. Yeah.
No, I was soaking in that vitamin D. It felt amazing. And now we'll go back to not seeing the sun for another few weeks, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right. We'll end on that note. Thanks everyone for listening. Will be with you tomorrow for the React Pod, and then back on Friday. KD files and other things with Joe Cash. So we'll talk to you then. See ya, guys.